Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Horse Center with myself, the irreplaceable, ever so wonderful, incredible co-host Shawn, and then our guest tonight is James St. Vincent. He is the director and the executive producer, I guess, of an upcoming, is it documentary or film?
It is going to be a documentary, full on 100%, except for it's not going to be boring. We're going to
Not a
do
boring documentary.
no, we're going to do some things a little bit different. This isn't going to be a story like Seabiscuit or even the movie The Jockey that came out. This is going to be the real thing, which is going to be a little bit different than what's been put out there by Hollywood and really by people who are not friendly to our cause. So this is something that's overdue that I think is really needed, and I think there'll be a lot of interest in it as far as people actually learning what people do in horse racing on the backside. Or what they do in the roots of it. Everybody sees the Kentucky Derby. Everybody sees the Preakness. Fewer, the Belmont. Fewer people see the Breeders' Cup. But most people, even people who are really in the horse racing, don't really know how it works. I mean, I was a track photographer for 5 years in Nebraska. That's why I have this shirt here. And I really didn't know how it works until I started getting into light horse ownership. I didn't know how they trained. I didn't know how any of that worked. I had friends that worked on the backside, and I know obviously you have to feed a horse, take care of a horse, vet a horse, shoe a horse, all that kind of stuff. But I really didn't know what the day in, day out, thing is. And especially when you're talking about trainers and grooms and things like that, nobody's telling those stories. So this is something I really want to tell as I got to know a lot of these folks over the last 5 to 6 years of my, working in the industry.
So the name of the not boring documentary is going to be Racing on the Brink.
Yes.
And that looks like that's going to be like the movie poster right there.
Yeah, that's a shell of the movie poster that or one of them that's going to come out. So the idea behind Racing on the Brink, the title, was that this is going to focus more on your mid-level tracks, say your Midwestern tracks, places where people aren't, they're not having $1 million purses. Their purses may be $50,000 purses, $10,000 purses, things like that. And these people who are doing this are on the brink. They're on the brink of either wild success because they have a horse do amazing things, or they're on the brink of financial ruin because as most people who have any involvement in the horse racing industry is you have more failures than successes, and you hope that the successes are so spectacular that it can overcome the failures. Well, for a lot of these folks, it only takes a couple bad horses and their farm's up. I mean, it's that close. The margins are so tight in a lot of cases, and it's really about people who are doing this at a professional level. I kind of, in order to explain it to non-horse people, it's like think about minor league baseball or even independent baseball. I mean, these are players that do this sport at a very high professional level with professional attitude, but they aren't making the professional money, the millions of dollars. They're making thousands of dollars. So this is what these folks are doing is they're trying to get up to the next level. They're trying to move from single A to triple A to the major leagues, and hopefully they have, a grade 1 horse, or they have a grade 3 horse. I mean, some people die for a grade 3 horse, and then that would be their whole career. It's kind of like PGA golf. PGA golf, you win one tournament, that's a career, unless you're Tiger Woods and you win a tournament a month. But really,
before you crash your car anyway.
Exactly. Have you win the Daytona 500, you're a great race car driver for the rest of your life. Ask Derek Cope in the 90s. If you're in a NASCAR, I got one over here. That's from growing up in the South. But yeah, I mean, these folks are hardscrabble folks, good when you think of Americans, these are those folks, and they are on the brink of either great success or financial ruin. One thing that brings them all together is that they're doing this because they love to do it.
Mhm.
Nobody, and I mean nobody, who has two brain cells to rub together is getting into horse racing as a job. Well, it's work. It's a job.
Mhm.
No, you have to love it. The danger, the chance of financial ruin. There's no insurance. It's one of the riskiest jobs in the world. Very few people have insurance policies, so it's all the risk is on you. You're doing it because you love to do it. Um, and people don't realize it. People just see what happens, and the PETA people. All right, I'm kind of I'm not afraid to say it. The people PETA people, they see a certain image of it, real or imagined, and they put this information out there based on, oh, look at them abusing the horses. They're making millions of dollars, this, that, and the other thing, and they don't really see, because the vast majority of people don't see what's really going on in the love and affection that folks have for these horses. And whether it's love or affection just because they love horses, or love and affection because it's necessary to have healthy horses in order to survive in this industry, um, they're getting a lot better than I think a lot of people think. And really, it's just trying to get down to the brass tacks, I guess, and really show what it takes in order to have any kind of horse with any success on any level. Never mind, your big horses, your justifies and your secretariats and your things like that, where people know. Um,
Mhm.
so that's really what I'm trying to do, and trying to, it's taken me a long time to get involved in this industry, and it's taken me a long time to gain trust in this industry as a filmmaker, photographer, in order to get behind the scenes and be able to do this. So we'll be traveling all over the country next year. I'm traveling a bit further than I wanted to travel, but if that's what it takes to make the story, then that's what it's going to require, and that's what we're going to do, because we need this out there so people can see the real happenings, and they can make a decision for themselves. And I
Mhm.
think once they see it, they're going to see, irrespective of our problems that we have in this industry, which, being completely honest, every sport has their issues.
Mm. Well, I
Every
think it's
sport.
not limited to sports. I mean, one thing
Yeah.
about horse racing is that, and we've put the offer out there
Hmm.
for some of these folks, the I hate horse racing crowd,
Hmm.
to come on the show and make their case, and we make our case. The reality is that I would 90% of the horses are probably treated better than 90% of the people who live on this planet,
Oh,
which is
absolutely.
which is a sad thing to say, but it's absolutely probably true.
Hmm.
So we put that offer out there. We haven't had any takers yet, so we're
Yep.
still waiting. I suppose we'll never get one in that regard, because
Right.
you'll expose the narrative, and there
Hmm.
really won't be much of a defense left there. So in
Hmm.
terms of getting tracks to agree, I have to
Hmm.
imagine that most of them are on guard,
Hmm.
because they probably figure most people who are interested in showing the backside are not necessarily involved from a friend of the business standpoint. They're out to show the negatives, right? Because
Oh, exactly. Just trying to get filming permissions has been daunting. Even with my pedigree of being involved in this industry and having people to vouch, for me and where I'm coming from on this, there's still concessions that different tracks, and I won't name the tracks, but tracks most of your watchers will have heard of and bet and visited. Um, they wanted certain concessions. They wanted to approve. They wanted to see all the reels, everything that was, recorded. They wanted to have rights over all the edits and things of that nature. And I definitely understand where they're coming from from that aspect. But even as a friend to the horse racing industry, even being a partial owner of a horse myself, and being in claiming partnerships and doing photography and such for the last 5 years, um, I can understand where there's a little bit of angst. But at some point, when you're a documentary filmmaker, you have to tell a story,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be truthful in that
It can't be
story.
boring.
Exactly. Now, in all my years, in all my years, I've been on the backside for the last 6 years, taking pictures, doing video, things like that, at a couple Nebraska tracks, and I have never ever seen any incident of any malfeasance or any questionable behavior by any groom, hand, anything like that. It just doesn't happen. I mean, does are there a few bad apples? Absolutely. However, when someone says, "Well, I'm afraid you're going to see something. Oh, I'm afraid you're going to see someone hit the horse or this, that, and the other thing." Well, my answer is don't hit the horse. All right. Um, I don't see it. It doesn't happen. Does it? Never happen in front of me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, does it happen? Yeah, but I was talking to a trainer that I work with in my partial ownership and my claiming groups I'm involved with, and I was talking to him about that, and I was like, the thing people don't understand is A, it's not something that really happens very often, and B, again, no sport is without its bad actors, bad things. I mean, you look at women's gymnastics, you look at women's volleyball, you look at women's soccer, boys wrestling, boys football, incidents upon incidents upon incidents of human beings abusing other human beings who are old enough to know no, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
No one has a problem with that. I mean, they do, but they don't. Peter's not out marching against, wrestling coaches or the women's gymnastics team with all that abuse that they had. They let that happen for decades. No one really cares. But you take something that doesn't really happen. At least I haven't seen it. No one's stupid enough to do it around me. Um, and it's just a big thing. You just make all these accusations you can't prove, and it's like, it's any athletic in Denver. You're going to have some bad apples, but I don't think horse racing comes close to the level of malfeasance as other sports. And I mean, we're
As
talking
we've
about human
seen.
beings.
Mm-hmm. Well, or for that matter, Wall Street. Wall Street blows up
Oh
the
yeah,
planet financially every, 10, 12 years. And they're
yeah.
all supposed to be the smartest of the smart coming out of the Ivy League schools. And somehow they don't understand risk management, something that
Right.
every single degenerate gambler knows all about.
Exactly.
Right, Shawn?
Right. James, so let's go back to the beginning. Who's the degenerate gambler per se that got you into horse racing?
Well, it was I got into horse racing kind of in a roundabout backdoor sort of way. Now, when I was young, I was originally born in Maine, but when I was about 10 years old, we ended up moving to Kentucky, of all places. I wasn't involved in the horse racing industry at all. We watched the Kentucky Derby, on TV. Never went there. I mean, I went to tour Churchill Downs once, went to the Kentucky Derby Museum once. And one thing I remember from that trip is they had a full size mock up of a horse, and you could get on the horse and try to assume the position of the jockey because they had this mirror and it had a line on the mirror, and you could confine yourself to that space. Well, at the time, I was really small for my age, like my son is really small for my age, and I fit within the lines. So I thought, well, I'm in Kentucky. I'm small. Maybe I should be a jockey. I mean, that'd be great. In my effort to become a jockey, I heard that coffee stunted your growth, so I had as much coffee as my parents would allow me to have. Now I am 6 foot tall, 225 pounds.
I should have drank more coffee.
The coffee didn't work. So many years later, I end up moving to Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska, of all places, get involved in independent journalism, and had an idea that I wanted to do stories about things that were going on in our city, Omaha, that people don't normally know about. Well, we have Horseman's Park, which rose up from the ashes of the old Exarban racetrack, which was really successful back until, back through the 80s and things like that. And then it got torn down for this really nice development. So someone was like, I don't want horse racing to die. So they just threw their money in and put us, 6/10 of a mile track just right on the outskirts of town. And they started having horse racing there. Now, we only have it like 10 days a week or 10 days a year. All right. I thought, oh, well, I'll go cover this. So I just show up one day, said, I want to speak to the manager because I want to do this story about this horse racing track. They're like, I don't know who you are, but yeah, whatever. Here's your press pass. You can go wherever you want, take pictures of whatever you want. And that was the only time that ever happened. So I did stories for this old magazine called Omaha Digest, which is now defunct. So it's probably because of my extremely competent writing that doesn't exist anymore. However, I ended up getting hired on as the actual official photographer for the racetrack and started doing the win photos. And so did that for 5 years, actually licensed, with the horse racing board and gaming board. So I'm official and everything like that. Then kind of when COVID hit, we didn't have horse racing that year. And then we had one last hurrah. And then they decide that we're going to build casinos because we want to increase the purses for the horse racers. The only problem is our tracks are going to have to close down for a year while they build the casinos. All right. As a horse photographer, I have nothing to do. So what can I do with my skills, with my connections, with my interests? Well, let me make a documentary. So we're here.
And where does are you close to Fauner Park? You go to Fauner Park a lot?
Fauner Park is in Grand Island, so that is about probably 2 hours away. And I've been several times. Mostly I go to get my license because I don't want to do it, at the temp office they have here at the track when we have our days here. So yeah, I make the journey out there. Most of Nebraska horse racing is based around there because they have the longest season. They go from February to all the way into May. So it's regular work for everybody. They have facilities and, they have grandstands and everything like that. Now, the lesser tracks, like your Omaha and Lincoln and Columbus, once they get the casino money in, they're going to start building proper horse racing facilities and hopes that we actually make this where we can extend the season out. I think there's 60 something days in the season. I think they're talking about trying to double that, trying to bridge the gaps between our season and Iowa's season and Colorado's season. So we can have people that can do a Midwest circuit going from Minnesota all the way across to Colorado and never have to leave that strip anymore and be able to make a living doing it. That's the goal. We don't want to have to have people shipped down to New Orleans or even Florida from Nebraska because that's time, money, expense, time away from your family, friends, farm.
And
so
it
that's
can put you on the brink.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the big thing. I mean, there are a lot of people who are close enough where if we had just a really nice setup across those 4 states, they could make a healthy living doing it. And that's really kind of what we want because if we have healthy horse racing breeding industry here in the state, the fans will come. I mean, the fans, we've had 15,000 fans at a fleeting horse race event here in Omaha. So there's interest there, for the casual fan. Like I was going to chime in on the Twitter today about Does anybody actually go watch horse racing and not bet? Yes, thousands of people every year in Omaha, Nebraska watch the horse races, scream, yell. Well, how much did you bet? I didn't bet anything. So, yes, people watch it for the entertainment value and just the beauty of it, not just the gambling aspect.
So you bring up that question, and I'm a big advocate for this. Don't you think there's a way that horse racing can make money off of those people, and we fail to do so?
Well, I mean, I tell you, they make a lot of money off concessions. I mean, just like, you go to any pro game, it's not the ticket that they make the money off of. They make money off of TV. They make money off concessions. That's where the money is. The tickets prices are irrelevant, when it comes to that. So, I mean, we charged, like, I don't even think we charged one year. And then another year we charged $2, but get everybody a program to hopefully entice them to bet. Merchandise sales. Now, this is one thing that the local track in Omaha actually did a really good job with, is merchandising. Every year they have several shirts that they use. Like one time our season happened to be coincide with May 4th. So instead of May the 4th be with you, we had May the horse be with you. I don't know how we didn't get sued, but we didn't. So that was a big seller. You see those shirts. Talk Derby to me. Double entendre. So we do that. Yeah, I mean, people are willing to buy that. I think if you sold tchotchkes and trinkets, let's say Emerald Downs actually does a pretty good job of that out in Washington. Merch is there. You look at the My Racehorse phenomenon. They are now selling people hats with their horse that they own 1/1000th of 1% in, and they're wearing those with pride and spending $30 for a hat, to do that, because horse racing, there's a connection that you can have with it, much like NASCAR. People have a connection with their driver, and they have connection with the brands that the drivers represent. Horse racing is very much, I think, the same way. People can have connections with the horse. You hear people talk about how much they love this horse and how they like the way it prances, how precocious this horse is. Yeah, that word. How they are. It's like they've never seen the horse, they never met the horse, but that's what they put on the horse, and that's how they bond with it. The human animal bond cuts across gender, race, socioeconomic status. You can go to a horse race as the poorest person, probably not have to spend any money to get in most tracks. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to bet. You watch them, you spend $0. Or you could be a high roller, like Rich over here.
No, that would be Shawn.
Just yeah.
If you watch the show, I'm a hot dog bettor. I have made some big bets in my day. Yeah, but I'm one of those people that actually assesses risk versus reward.
No, don't do that. But yeah, you get some folks there with their big stogies, and they just make it rain, and they want to, either they are rich or they want to feel rich for a day and spend the money. It has a little something to offer everybody, and that's another thing I want to show with this, is the family-friendly aspect of horse racing, especially now. Maybe back in the 70s, 80s is a little grittier, maybe not for the kids. Now we have kids' days, and it's just berserk. I mean, the children that are there, everyone generally acts right. A lot of people drink a lot of alcohol, but they generally act right, especially, they're where kids are there. It's a public place, and everyone just has a good time. And so I think that's really what needs to be, put out there.
There's nothing wrong with the out of his mind drunk, because then you can point to your kids and say, that's why you don't drink.
Right.
That gives him a good example. The guy face down in his puke. You don't want to be that guy, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's luckily I've never seen anything as bad as, Hunter S. Thompson's The Kentucky Derby is Decadent and Depraved. If you've never read that piece, it is fantastic. Look into what actually happens at the Kentucky Derby. It's not what you see on TV, which is really funny. But no, we have a good time here in Nebraska, but not too good of a time. And I think that's generally how it is around the country. It is very family friendly. One of the only really gambling opportunities if you really want to gamble that you can take the kids to, and them actually want to be there.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I've said, because when we talk to most people who've come on, jockeys, trainers, fans, whatever, most of them were introduced to the track by a family member who brought them there when they were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me that the way to grow the sport is to go try to make it family friendly, especially in this day when everything is so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not that crazy to say, come to the track, get in for free, or $2. Here's your program. Maybe you pay $20 to get in, and it includes a pizza and a cup where you can go get fountain drinks, so you can feed your family, go to the track, and the degenerate dad still can have $80 out of the 100 left over to bet, and see if you can come home, make up the $20 you spent to get into the track. Shawn couldn't do it. I know that for sure, but I would have a chance.
Well, you brought up concession stands. The one problem I have with that is the concession stands, it all does go to the track, and it doesn't go back to the horsemen or anything like that. And that's where I think.
So who froze? Me, Shawn?
Am I back?
It's Shawn.
Yeah, Shawn, you froze. Okay, so we've been lately having a game of who froze on our feed. So it looks like it's Shawn. So while Shawn unfreezes, kind of give us an idea of what your schedule is going forward for filming. I know you haven't started yet. You said you're going to spend most of next year driving around the country, probably more so than you had hoped. So kind of fill us in on your schedule.
Yeah, so generally that's kind of what we're looking at. Is I'm planning on doing a little bit of public area filming, hopefully at Fauner Park. Probably not going to do any backside work there. And then over the course of the summer and early fall, we got some ins actually on the West Coast, believe it or not. Let's see here.
They're just talking about PETA. Their goal is to get rid of horse racing. Yeah, just like they got rid of the elephants. But some of those pictures of the elephants kind of walking around in circles didn't do the circus any well. But yeah, I still think the fact of the matter is, fortunately or unfortunately, most of these horses are treated better than 99% of the people on the planet, and that's an unfortunate thing for the state human race in a lot of places. But that's not the point of what we're talking about now. So you were saying is you're going to go to Fauner Park, you're going to film some public area stuff, and then you're off to the tracks behind the scenes.
Yeah. So I'm actually hopefully going to work out a deal with Turf Paradise, which is actually the same place where they filmed the movie, The Jockey.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do some behind the scenes there. My actual trainer has suggested that, as he works with them very closely, and he has a barn down there. Also, probably will go to, I wasn't going to go to Washington, but to Emerald Downs. My girlfriend actually loves the Seattle area, so she was all for it all of a sudden. So I'm like, well, you know what? If this counts as a trip, if I'm going to get credit for that, and get to actually get some work done, that's a no-brainer. But I would still like to go to some of the smaller tracks. Almost went to South Dakota, Fort Pierre, South Dakota. Still want to go up there. Columbus, Nebraska, really small track. They are looking to build a casino, but they're probably going to be the last ones to have it. So it's going to be more of a fair type of atmosphere. Really trying to get the breadth of everything from a Turf Paradise on down. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I probably, just for contrast, will visit Churchill Downs. I still have a little bit of a few contacts there where I could get in there and do the public things, because obviously people are going to need to see that. If we don't go there, we'll farm out some footage to someone there, because people have seen the Derby. They know what the deal is. Mm-hmm. Don't want to spend too much time on that, but really, next year, holy cow. luckily we're right in the middle of the country. We're flyover country, but you can get direct flights to almost anywhere from Omaha, because we have a few fairly well-known rich people that need to be able to get to where they need to go.
At least one by the name of Warren Buffett. You also have a great fighter, right? In Terrence Crawford.
Terrence Crawford. Oh man, he is the pride and joy of the city. I tell you, he's an Omaha treasure. He
well, they're trying to make that fight with Errol Spence. I can't wait. I know they were saying originally about 2 weeks ago they announced it was going to be out. They're going to fight November 19th, but so far they haven't gotten the contract details finalized, though. It was, I think Mike Tyson came out and said that they were still working on it, and it's probably going to be moved to the middle of December. But I mean, you're talking about a fight that's on the scale of a Hagler and a Hearns, or Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran. It's that we haven't seen a fight like that probably since the 80s when you were losing your hearing.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I hope that comes to pass, because it's what Terrence Crawford does for this community is amazing. It really is. We could have, a pipeline come through, Omaha, Nebraska, as far as future world champs in boxing. I mean, we've had MMA fighters come through here. Houston has come through here. So yeah, he's great. I can't speak highly enough of him. But yeah. So certain people need to get around. So we have the ability to fly in, fly out. Do short trips, short jumps, and pretty affordable too. Movie making costs money. Unfortunately, it's not a free endeavor. But we plan to spend the money it's going to require to do this,
to get it done. Well, you could just go over to the Omaha's house, the Omaha Oracle's house, and just probably clip something off of his golden fence, and it'll pay for your entire trip.
Exactly. I mean, the initial budget for this, and hopefully we can stay under this, is $25,000, which is not a lot for a movie, but however, for a limited interest documentary, it's actually a pretty healthy budget. Clerks was made for about that much money, and look at what it did for Kevin Smith. Luckily, we don't have to worry about film and developing. It's all going to be digital, which makes things extremely more cost effective than Clerks was. So I think we'll have the ability to actually put out a professional product that tells a good story, and we don't want it to be, this isn't some sort of YouTube thing. This is going to be.
You're not as low grade as Shawn and I, huh? Is that what you're trying
to say? No, but I mean, this is good. YouTube is great for certain things like this.
Don't backtrack now, my man. Own it.
Yeah. But as far as there's a lot of stuff on YouTube as far as people trying to do documentaries and have them seen, and they put them on YouTube and they just go there to die. For people to take us seriously, I think we have to be on major streaming services, which I don't think is too much of an ask. We're going to put a product out there that's going to be informative, entertaining, and heart-wrenching. There's going to be some sadness that will be dealt with in this. We've lost a few people close to our industry in tragic accidents. We're hoping that a few of the remaining family members will be willing to participate, just so we can shine a light on why they did such a dangerous thing and ultimately lost their life doing it. They always say the trope is, they died doing something they love. Well, these folks did literally die doing something they loved. We should all be so lucky to be able to do that, but it doesn't make it any less tragic. So there's going to be some tear-jerking moments in there. This film would not be worth making if we skipped that, if we skipped the tragedy. But there's also going to be triumph, and I think what people will take away from this is, I think people will see this and they will remember a time when they loved something so much, or they had this goal, something they really wanted to do. Maybe it was when they were a child, maybe it was when they graduated high school, that they wanted to do this thing and be the best at it, or be able to make a living doing something they love doing. And they're going to be able to identify with that, because everybody who's doing this, who will appear in the film, is doing something that they want to do, and they're making sacrifices to do it. And that story needs to be told.
So as far as if folks want to follow along with the development, I know you have a WordPress site. Is it racingondthebrink.wordpress or something like that?
Yeah. It hasn't been updated very often, but it will get updated more. I've been concentrating on Twitter and Facebook. But yeah, racingonthebrink.wordpress.com, I believe, is the WordPress. I send people to either the Twitter,
Which
which
is
the
right
handle
there.
is, yeah, right there, Horse
Mhm.
Racing Doc. And then you can kind of meander over to the Facebook page, facebook.com/racing on the brink. That's where most of the action is right now. However, once we start doing things and have more to tell, the WordPress site will jump up. I like the banter that we have on the Twitter site. So if you just have one line question, or if you're a PETA person, you just want to harass me, just do it on the Twitter. Okay, I don't block anybody on there. You get on the Facebook, you're going to be blocked. Twitter, come at me, bro. I don't care.
Well, they won't
I
come. I mean, we've asked, like with Shawn, I know we've put that out on Twitter, like who wants to come, but nobody's wanted to come yet. So,
right.
as far as the if there's anybody out there that wants to help you and support as you go through this process, like more funding, maybe if you need more funding along those lines, is that the best place to follow along on Twitter? So they DM you. How would one contact you if they wanted to help?
Yeah, definitely.
Or if they wanted to be in the show or give you the okay, because Shawn, we've had on Craig Braddock, who's the track announcer down at Turf Paradise. He's been very accommodating for us. So if there's any ways that we could connect you with people, just let Shawn know, because he won't share the contacts with me. He's got to have some value around here. But
Cece Ferguson would be a great one. She's been a star before. I don't know if she's interested.
But if she has a horse running, if she's wearing anything other than red pants, it ain't gonna win.
But yeah, I'm pretty accessible. So yeah, DM me through Twitter. It's a really great place to DM me. Everything goes to my phone. You can DM me through Facebook. Yeah, anyone who has ideas, stories I don't know about, things they want to share. Do they want to be in it? We are still looking for some folks who wouldn't mind being followed around. Grooms. We're looking for grooms that would mind being followed around. Hot walkers, anything like that. If you work on the backside and your boss will let you be filmed, yeah, definitely.
So
Now,
if you have a small barn that you want to get some publicity for, it's a great opportunity to do it and not have to spend a lot of marketing, right?
oh, absolutely. We're documentarians, so we can't pay anybody for being in the thing. However, I'm also not fuzzing out logos and things like that. So yeah, if your horse, if your business is there, if we go to your farm and it's XYZ thoroughbreds and there's a big sign, well, you know what, that thing's going to be in the documentary. And one thing that we want to do is, I'm old school, so we will have physical content that will be released, and we'll have extra features and all this stuff once we get through the streaming phase of operations. So it'd be a great Christmas gift. We're not planning on doing any kind of fundraising through Kickstarter or anything like that. I think that's a little cheesy for what we're trying to do. I think it serves a purpose in some things. However, uh, we we're operating like we are a fully funded documentary film, because documentary films don't have $1 million budgets.
Mm-hmm.
By and large, all right. They have budgets similar to ours. Now, would we like to be working off $100,000 budget? Heck yeah. If folks want to invest, now what we will do is we will have merchandise that will come out. So if you want to support us, wearing the merchandise, buying the stickers, whatever we come out with would be the best way. Just kind of keep an eye around Christmas, t-shirts, hats, things like that. We want to get people talking. We want to get the right people talking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have people in the horse racing industry, and I think what we'll have a lot of with this is you will have people who work in the horse racing industry, and they'll be like, hey, take 90 minutes and watch this film, and you're going to understand me. You're going to understand why I don't go out to 2 o'clock in the morning, why I have to be up at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. You're going to understand a little bit more about what I do. You're going to understand a little bit more about, horse racing, and you're going to understand, that, how well these animals are treated. And, again, not to give the PETA people too much play, but when you complain about the way the horses or the elephants are treated at the circus versus the way horses are treated in horse racing, you're really comparing two totally different things. An elephant's natural habitat, his natural inclination, is not to walk around the little ring, stand on his feet, bark on command, and stand on the ball. A horse's natural instinct, his natural proclivity, is to run, is to be outside and to run and feel the wind across their face. I can prove it. You look at any horse race, you watch horse races enough, what will you see? You'll see a horse throw their rider, the race goes off, or maybe the race hasn't got off, and they break through the gates, the rider goes down. What happens to that horse? That horse takes off running as fast as he can, and he runs around the track. And someone has to grab that horse to stop it.
Keep it from running. Oh, you just watch any Western movie where they have an aerial shot on the plains of horses, wild horses in the field. And what do you see them always doing?
Yep.
They're running in a pack, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that is a horse's natural instinct. That's his natural habitat, is to run on a natural surface as fast as they can. That's what horses do. When horses horse, that's what they do. Horse doesn't do anything a horse doesn't want to do. It doesn't happen. You try to make a 1,000-pound animal to do with that kind of brain to do what it doesn't want to do. No.
Well, you see that sometimes when they try to load them. When they don't want to go in, sometimes you can't get them in. No matter, you have 42 people behind them trying to push them in.
Only people do things they don't really want to do, but they have to.
Exactly.
Yes. In a lot of different ways, right? For sure. Well, we appreciate your time, James. Keep in touch with us. Let us know as things go along. And when you have merchandise, we'll certainly put them on horseracingtoday.net to our limited audience there, and make sure that everyone we work with is aware of it. And then as you move along, if you have clips and stuff like that, you can share with us. We'd love to preview them on the show so folks can keep up to speed. And when you're going to go live on the red carpet, Shawn and I will show up like, come on, what's their names? Jim Carrey. What's the other guy's name? What's the guy's name? Voight? I don't know his name, but from Dumb and Dumber. I'll wear the orange suit.
Yep.
Shawn will wear the blue suit.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can catch up with folks, because when this thing gets released and after we do the streaming thing, we would actually like to go on tour and have live, viewing events, for the horsemen, for the fans at all these tracks, that are willing to host us, because I think that'd be great outreach. Let our PETA friends come and watch the movie, and I'll talk to them, and they'll, kind of see, maybe their minds won't be changed, but at least, they'll know we're not the, evil people that I think we are. So, all we can do is talk to, we have to engage the people that don't agree with us to make the world a better place.
Indeed, for sure. Well, we appreciate your time, and certainly looking forward to the final product and the path along the way in 2023. We'll be here, and again, share what you have as you come along, and we'll certainly make sure we do our part to get that information out there.
Sounds great. Appreciate your help, guys.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too.
Bye-bye. Bye. All righty, Mr. Shawn. Well, that's another long evening, 45 minutes. Do you want to cover news real quick since it's Wednesday, and I know you got your tissue out, so we can extend it as long as you want, or you're ready to go to bed?
No, we could do the news.
All right, so let's talk a little bit of news. We had that big stink about the shoes that Hot Rod Charlie was wearing, and then they did HISA did a study on it, or whatever they did, an investigation, and they found out that there were no violations with Hot Rod Charlie's shoes. So now they can do a commercial like Nike did in the 80s and just say it must be the shoes.
Yeah, so this confuses me really, because I mean, if everybody looks at I don't know enough about these shoes to know, but like everybody that saw the picture says it was. So the picture wasn't doctored with.
It's not worth 1,000 words.
So I'm confused on
was not mightier than the sword.
Yeah, what we saw and why they're saying, oh no, nothing did happen. It's another one of those. I think there's more to it.
Well, I mean, they studied it. It's over. There's no more to it.
Wow.
It's concluded. It's done. That's that. Right?
They're going like this and getting rid of it, but
yes,
you know,
that's memory hold for sure now. All right. So this is an interesting article here. I didn't know illegal shoes was a thing. Well, I guess they are a thing with like the you're not allowed to wear the toe grips apparently because
in the front. Yep.
Yeah, it does something to like their ligaments or something. Some it does potentially some damage to the legs. Yeah. All right. Next up, HISA. Speaking of HISA. This is an interesting article to me. It distributes the 2023 financial assessments to state racing commissions. If you page down a little bit into this story right here, you're going to find a number. You know what the bill is for 2023? What the budget is, Shawn? Did you see this number?
No, I did not see this. No.
So the full HISA budget for 2023 is $72,509,662. $72.5 million. Can you see that guy in the movie with Austin Powers? $72 million. Holy,
that's Lord. What it cost. That's what it costs to have HISA.
It's just right there. That's their budget for 2023.
Wow.
72,
and that's what all the states are paying.
That's what they're supposed to contribute in. But if they go ahead and collaborate with HISA, then there are going to be $23 million in monetary budgets, credits. So you subtract just rough math, 72, it's going to be around $50 million. $49 million. That's still $49 million.
Yeah. A lot of states not happy about that.
Right? Now that the bill is coming due, it's a whole new version of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson said everybody has a plan in a fight till they get punched in the mouth, right? Well, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth with a $50 million bill.
So let me ask you, you really think that bill's going to get paid?
Well, I mean, I suppose it has to get paid one way or the other, right? It's going to get paid. The question is who's going to pay it, Shawn?
Yeah.
And we said from the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
They say at every poker table, there's what they call a I forget the name from the movie, but from the movie Rounders, it's another word for sucker. There's a mark. I think it's called a mark. At every poker table, there's a mark. And if you don't know who the mark is, it's you. I feel like that's horse racing bettors, right? Because at every horse racing venue, there's a mark, and those marks are always us because we're the ones that pay for it and take out. We pay for it in all sorts of different ways, right?
Who's paying the bill and the eyes stop on the bettors, right?
Before you know it, a lot more people, Shawn, will be going to horse racing and not betting because they won't have any money left. All right. So speaking of horse racing and betting, everybody talked about that penny breakage in Kentucky and almost mocked it and made fun of it, right? What's a penny?
Yeah, they did.
But since July, the Kentucky people have had more than $1 million added to their winnings because of that penny breakage.
Yeah. So what I never, people say that with the pennies, but a lot of times it's like 89 instead of 70. Like it's a lot more than it could be like 19 cents for every $2. Well, if you're putting $100 on a horse to win, I mean, do the math, it's a few dollars. So, and if that's happening a couple times a week, I mean, it's an add up by the end of the year. So it says
added up to $1 million since they started it in July. So, I mean, it's not small change.
It says pennies, but it's really not like 2 more cents for you. No, it could be 14 more cents for you, which is, I don't understand all of that, why that is, but I've seen examples of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it makes a big difference. I think it's something that everybody ought to do, but with the $73 million bill about to go due, they might go back the other way around.
all the people crying about where this money goes, where that money goes. Why is no one else saying, what are all these other states doing with all that extra money? If Kentucky's paying $1 million out, every other state's pocketing that $1 million.
Where it's going somewhere, right? It's probably going to. My guess is it's going to the tracks in most of those cases, Shawn, because the state takes out their pay, then they pay out the that's the first thing to come out of the money pool is the taxes and the state fees, and then after that, the track takes its cut. So I would guess that's left behind for. I don't really know where that goes, but it's not going to the better wherever it's going. That's for sure. So those are the 3 stories that we have for today. I find the one interesting about, to me, $72 million. We talked about this when we first started. Be careful for what you wish, as the saying goes, because you just might get it. And when you get it, it comes along with a $72 million price tag, Shawn.
Yeah, and I mean, right, like everything else, I'm sure that will go up each year, right?
Well, I mean, the way inflation's going, it'll be $42 million next year for sure. Because that's the way things are good, the way they're looking right now. So one of the ways, hopefully, you can help offset inflation is to go ahead and check out the picks with the professor in his baseball plays today. He likes the Astros giving up 1.5 runs, and the team total for the Astros going over 3.5 for a plus 150 ROI. 150 odds on DraftKings. So if you haven't done that yet, there's a link in the description below. Please do follow along with the professor. Watch his YouTube show. And while you're there, hit him up in the comment section and let him know that Shawn and Rich sent you. We would greatly appreciate that. That wraps up at the Horse Center for this week, Shawn. Who do you and Miss Jamie have on for next week?
We have another great week. Monday, we have jockey Angel Suarez on. Then Tuesday, Chantel Sutherland returns. And then Wednesday, Paula Bacon, who we've had on the Player's Edge before. Former jockey, trainer, now jockey agent, will be on. And she'll be smiling ear to ear because Pablo Morales is winning that Presque Isle jockey championship easily, winning 3-4 races every day.
Well, she's getting him good mounts, so congratulations to her and to Pablo for that. Of course, that'll be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, Terry and I will be back at Charles and I have it. Charles and I will be back tomorrow. And I swear to you, Shawn, for the first few races today, I was a little mad at myself. At the same time, felt like I read the wrong program again. Then it kind of pulled it together and then fell apart again at the end. So I'm looking to make better tomorrow at Belmont, at Aqueduct. Charles will be with me. That'll be at noon. We'll go through that. Charles and I are going to launch something, just a little bit of a prelude. We'll talk a little bit more about it next week. But next Friday, Charles and I are going to do something a little bit different. We hope it'll be a lot of fun for those who play along with us or watch. It'll be a good time. Just a little hint. It'll have something to do with Keeneland as we get prepared for the Breeders' Cup. And then on Friday, Thomas and I will be covering 5 races at Shea Tin in Hong Kong. So that should be a lot of fun. Last year, I had a rude awakening in the currency exchange rates.
This is the one. Yep.
Yeah, where I thought I won $1,300, went through the currency exchange, and it was like $13 or something. I was just like, that's what's crazy on some of those too. Like I saw the Bailly race, for example. He didn't even show, but they only played out the places, and the places weren't even that high for the prices. I thought, well, this horse didn't hit the board. You're going to have some place and show. You didn't even see a show. It was all place. Yeah, but I don't think they have. I don't think they have show over there. I think they just have win. I think if you finish second or third, it's considered placing. Yeah, because Tom has explained this to me before, and I just kind of blow over like, yeah, whatever. I'm only interested in the winner anyhow.
The prices weren't that great for even the placing, and I thought, man, you have Bailly who was 1 to 5, 1 to 9, completely out of it. I would have thought there would have been huge prices there, but there weren't. So, that whole thing for me too. It's a learning game, on their different.
Well, it's different in terms of how they do things over there, and they have swingers and stuff like that too. So if you have the first horse and the third horse, you get paid. Yeah. Unlike that, we don't have anything like that here. So there's other options available for bettors in Europe that they do not have here in the United States. I still think that we would be smart to open up our betting a little bit more like they do in professional sports, where you have different sort of, if you want to call them prop bets or in-race base bets, like who's going to win the race to the quarter pole, which jockey's going to have the most wins on the card for the day, stuff like that, where people can bet outside of just horse racing and have themselves. I mean, look at with what you've done with the jockey survivor contest. Yes. A lot of people have fun with that. And I would imagine that if a track did a track specific jockey survivor type contest, where every day you pick the jockey and whoever's standing at the end gets a day at the track for, you get free admission, you get to sit in whatever the nice booth is. If you go to like a place like Hawthorne, there is no such thing, but maybe you get a free hot dog or something along the way. And, like a $50 or $100 betting voucher, you're going to bring a lot of people into your social media site. And this is a great idea that Shawn has come up with. And if any sort of person in track media is listening for marketing, it's an idea you might want to think about playing out there, and it won't cost you much to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. There's definitely ideas. I mean, I've never thought of an idea myself like that, and in horse racing, I was able to do it. So there's obviously ideas that people are missing. So I don't know.
Indeed.
What's funny about we'll go back. What's funny about your quarter pole thing is they won't be able to figure out the odds of what that wager is until the quarter pole. So that's why it's hard to bet on.
Well, they won't be able to figure it out until they're after the half mile marker. Then they'll know what the odds are. And no matter which horse you picked, it's going to be 1-9 when it hits the quarter pole.
Yeah. So I figured we started the week that way. We'll end the week like that, right?
Absolutely, for sure. All right. Well, that does wrap up the week. If you haven't had a chance to, Eddie and Chris got together with who did they get together with?
Jonathan Stetton from Past the Wire.
So that's available over on our YouTube channel as well, Horse Racing Radar TV. So make sure you go check that out. Hit the like button while you're here. We will keep you up to date with the Racing on the Brink as it progresses through 2024. And if it's something 2023, if it's something that you would like to help out with or somehow you can contribute, if you're a trainer, you're a jockey, you're a marketing person at a track, you want some exposure and you want to invite them in, let us know, and we'll certainly reach out and make that connection for you. It's a community, like we've said every time. It's something we want to help everybody become better bettors, put out there, the good side of the sport. We won't avoid the bad things, but we haven't been able to get Bob Baffert on. And I'm just kidding, of course, Shawn. I don't hold judgment until I speak.
What's great about the community too is I've actually had it while we're even here. People are reaching out with different ideas of who to bring on, and they might have some connections, and I love that. It makes our job that much easier. And there are a lot of interesting stuff out there, and we may not be able to connect to them, but somebody else can, and it just brings it full circle. So
6 degrees of separation. If anybody knows James Hetfield from Metallica, I'd love to have him on.
There you go.
Please reach out to James if you're watching. DM Shawn, DM us at Horse Race Today. And if, like Shawn said, if you got any ideas or somebody in the business or you're somebody in the business and you want to come on, hey, we'd love to have you on. Our Twitter is Horse Race Today. Our Facebook is Horse Race Today. Our Instagram is Horse Race Today. Reach out to Shawn. I see on the Facebook page we get a high grade for response time. So that's all on Shawn's shoulder. So take your right hand, put it on your left shoulder, Shawn. Put that on the back. And that takes us wire to wire for this week. So any final thoughts, Shawn? Then we get out of here.
No, it was another great week. And we'll be right back next week with another great week. And you'll finish out the week with Charles with some winners.
Yeah, I hope so, for sure.
No pressure.
Let's go with that. Yes, tomorrow, Shawn, all of Charles' picks and my picks will end up in the
winner circle.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Have a fantastic hump day evening. And don't forget, Shawn and I will be back Friday night for some football, NFL action. We'll have a special guest. Jared's away on vacation, but he'll be with us, and it'll be something you don't want to miss. Until then, have a great evening.